Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brandon Shank, and welcome to the Brandon Shank Podcast.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Brandon Shank Podcast. Brandon Shank here with Big Time Corey in the corner.
What's up, everybody?
Over here. We're here on the storm-battered East Coast after last night's storms. It was windy, rainy. Was it windy at your house? You said your lights were flickering a little bit.
Yeah, they would go off for like 1 or 2 seconds, just enough to, shut down your internet and your TV and then be like, great, I got to reset everything.
We didn't have any power issues, but we live out in the middle of a giant field, right?
Yeah.
It's like 9 acres, and our house is in the middle of all of it, which means we're in the middle of a windstorm all the time.
I can imagine.
So it sounds like a hurricane on a normal night at times out there because you're right off the ocean, and you're a couple miles back from the ocean, just nothing protecting you. So last night, I didn't get much sleep. It's just because of the loud. I wasn't scared of the wind. It was the sheer volume of the wind.
Because you don't have any huge trees or anything right near your house in your backyard, but not close enough. Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the trees off the back of my house are probably 300 feet away.
Yeah.
At least. Yeah. And then there's woods, but other than that, there's nothing around my house.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about anything falling on your house.
Which I love, because I hate trees near my house.
A trampoline from a neighbor's house or something. Or your own trampoline.
Yeah, my own trampoline. I did have to anchor that in when we moved there. One of my buddies, when we moved in, he lives out there, and he goes, man, you got to anchor this thing in out here in Pungo. I was like, bro, I get it. But we love it, but it's loud. My wife was like, yeah, I'm not sleeping tonight. And it was so loud. But, we had a 2-hour delay today. The upside is that, Kate, my oldest, made everybody breakfast. And now my wife just sent me pictures. He was cleaning out the pool.
There we go.
It's like, hey, he's trying to kill time till the bus comes. So
when you're bored, you're bored.
Hey,
I
said, who is that? Is that Caden? I said, what's his name? That our 13-year-old's cleaning out the pool. You kidding me?
Pool boy.
Yeah, seriously. But anyway, so I hope everybody is safe, and I hope you're listening to this with full power. If not, I'm glad we could be a part of your day. Light a candle. Let's kick it for a little bit.
We almost came, just had a sleepover at your house. I mean, you invited us all. You're like, hey, if you lose power, you can come to the Shank house.
I'd be lying if I didn't tell you there wasn't a small part of me that was hoping somebody would lose power so we could hang out. I had a board meeting last night for our Little League at the house, and once they left, I was like, man, this would be a great night for a sleepover.
Yeah.
We need to invite some friends.
Popcorn, watch a movie.
We had the Saved by the Bell meme with Slater, Zach, and Screech dancing. That's what that was.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. It's a great meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wish somebody's power would have went out so you could have come over. But selfishly, none of us would have gotten any sleep together, but it would have been fun. So Michigan is the national champion. We're here on January the 10th. So Wednesday is when we record our podcast. But, I know this may be a little late, but Michigan won the national championship. Jim Harbaugh, congratulations. I would like to say Blake Corum, the running back for Michigan, is from my hometown. I grew up in Warrenton. He's from Marshall, but my dad pastored in Marshall for 23 years. They did a cool special on him and on the whole Marshall area that showed right before the national championship. I was like, represent. Whoever would have thought Marshall, Virginia was going to be on the national headlines because of Blake Corum.
That's cool.
He's got a tattoo on his bicep that says exit 28, which is the exit off of 66 to Marshall. So it's cool, man. Anybody from D.C. knows that. But if you're not from D.C., you wouldn't know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just cool. This dude has put Marshall on the map. His parents drove him 2 hours one way to Baltimore every day in high school so he could play at a big a school to get notoriety.
Wow.
His freshman year, he went to my old high school. And then his sophomore year, he went to a school in Baltimore.
Okay.
It's 2 hours one way.
That's crazy.
It's commitment. But, the man is going to the NFL, being a first rounder.
Yeah.
So good for him, man.
That's cool.
It'd be great. Bring him back to Washington. Bring him home, boys. Bring him home. So the college football playoff, there's a lot of controversy. Florida State undefeated, Power 5 didn't get in. There's a lot of controversy. But at the end of the day, there were 2 undefeateds in the national championship in Washington and in Michigan. But I did realize something. And I want to go back a little bit on what I'd said earlier about who the top 4 should have been, because this is what I think. I think Michigan or Alabama were both, or not Michigan, I think Georgia and Alabama were both better than Washington, honestly. Washington beat Oregon twice to get there, but when you look at it, Michael Penix he didn't really have a good game, missed a lot of reads. I like Michael Penix, he has a great arm, but Georgia, I think if they made the top 4, I think they would have been in that championship game. I don't think Texas was good enough to be there. I think Texas got in because Alabama was a one-loss team that lost to Texas in Alabama. And so they had to put Texas in if Alabama got in. That's why Texas got in. I know they were Pac-12 champ, but Texas was not better than Georgia. Georgia and Alabama, at the end of the day, should have both been in that playoff, along with you had to put Washington in as a Pac-12 undefeated. But I think Washington and Florida State are probably a lot closer than people think. I think Washington got a nod because Michael Penix, but I think Florida State could have played with them. But I think Michigan, Alabama, and Georgia were by far the 3 best teams in the nation this year, and I think Michigan was the best team.
Gotcha.
So I think they got it right at the end of the day. The right team won the championship, but I do agree with all of the analysts that were saying Georgia deserved to get in because they were one loss. They didn't win I don't believe a team that doesn't win your championship should make it. I think the prerequisite to make the college football playoff when there's only 4 teams is you have to win your conference. I think that's just common sense.
Yeah.
So I understand why Georgia didn't, but if you're saying the best 4 make it, Georgia was one of the best 4. It just is what it is.
So how do they, as someone who doesn't, watch collegiate football, because I understand the NFL and the standings and how that works, but this sounds different. Is this different? Like how teams get in?
Yeah, it's a committee. So it's not what's done on the field. So it's a committee of people that are volunteer that are, ADs of other schools and representatives and things like that, and they determine who the top 4 should be. And so there's always going to be discrepancy with that because it's not played out on the field. You've never heard an argument at the end of an NFL season that so-and-so deserved to be in, they didn't get in. You never hear that. Why? Yeah. Because it's played out on the field. It's not, there's no discrepancy.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? Whereas college football, it comes down because there's 120 some teams, or it comes down to who they think the best 4 is. Now, next year it's going to 12. So it'll alleviate some of that, but there's still going to be people saying who the best 12 are. At the end of the day, there will be people in a room deciding the best 12.
So this year it was the best 4?
It was the best 4.
Holy cow!
And so you have teams like Georgia who didn't win the SEC, but they went undefeated for 2 years straight or 3 years, whatever it was. Yeah. Won the national championship, come in this year, go undefeated, losing the SEC championship, and then they end up getting kicked out of the top 4 because they didn't win the SEC, which I agree with because I think winning your conference should be a prerequisite. However, it does throw a discrepancy when you have a Washington, a Pac-12 team. They were great. Washington's a great team. They deserve to be in the top 4. But they weren't as good as Georgia, and Alabama, and Michigan, in my opinion. Yeah. That's just my opinion.
That is crazy, though, when something is decided not. I mean, I kind of got the gist of that from a lot of the videos and stuff that I saw, but I never really fully understand how those were picked.
So at the end of the day, the college football, the playoff system, Michigan was the best team. So at the end of the day, the best team did win. Okay. I think Michigan would have beat anybody they played. I think they were that good, and they went through a lot of adversity this year. And then when you talk about NFL has actually had the greatest viewership since 1995 this year. For whatever reason, 17 million people average for regular season game, which is astronomical. That's unbelievable when you think about other things getting 2 and 3 million views during live. 17 million views. That's almost as much as we have for Palms Church every week.
Hey.
So, but one thing that they're running into is NFL is obviously a money grab, and so Peacock is a streaming service that paid like $110 million to exclusively stream a regular season game and a playoff game for the NFL.
Yeah.
Well, the playoff game this week, the wild card game against the Dolphins and Chiefs, you can only get it through Peacock.
Hey, I got Peacock. Let's go.
On Saturday night. The thing is, I don't. So the locals, if you're local, you can get it for free on a station, I think. Yeah. But if you're not, you have to pay for the subscription for a year in order to get the game. It's like $60 a year subscription.
They don't have a free trial.
If they're smart, they wouldn't. Not this
That's
weekend.
True. Let me look up.
But this is the thing. So people are losing their minds over this because now to watch every NFL game, you got to have Amazon Prime. You got to have some type of streaming service to watch the regular games. ESPN, ABC. Now they're going to Peacock, another streaming service. So Charles Omenihu, I think that's how you say his name. He plays for the Chiefs. He purchased 90 3-month memberships to Peacock to give out to fans. He's a Chiefs because he's heard all the grumbling from fans.
That's cool.
90 3-month memberships so that people can watch the game. 90 people, which is really cool.
I'll hit you with my login.
Okay.
Yeah, man. You'll be all right.
He wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
I mean,
I told BP, one of our pastors here is a massive Chiefs fan. He's from out there, and I said, bro, what are you going to do? And so if that's Washington, it's different. If it's Washington, they would stream it local because that's what they're doing. Yeah. But I just think it's a money grab. Like, I am not, as an NFL fan, purchasing subscription. Everybody has Prime anyway, right? Everybody has Prime. You have a bank account, you have a heartbeat, you have Prime, right? That's the way it works. But I'm not subscribing to Peacock. I don't care what game it is.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm not. It's just not worth it to me.
It is kind of stupid.
I'm not.
How it's spreading everything out.
But maybe next year I'll change my mind. But for right now, there's not a chance.
Yeah, I subscribe to it. It's hit or miss.
So it surprised me because you subscribe to that.
There was I can't remember why. Oh, there were some movies that the boys really, really like Super Mario is like on there.
Well, see, when they got good
it's
movies,
now on Netflix though. So
yeah, when they got good movies, I'm all in for a subscription service.
For kids, I'd actually say it's actually is really good. So
anybody else out there feel like we're all getting completely railroaded by? I did Hulu when it was like $50 a month, and now I'm paying more than I did when I had cable.
Bro, here's what I love is everyone went cord cutter there for a little bit. So we all were paying for cable. It got astronomically expensive. Like, we can agree with that.
Yeah.
But then everyone was like, well, we're going to have our own app. And so now everyone has their own app, and you just have to, well, if you want Discovery, you need to go get the Discovery app. If you want Disney, you need the Disney app. And so now everything's separate, and you now pay $15 a month or $10 a month for everything. And so it adds back up to that. Some company's going to be like, hey, look, let's just package all of these together and let's call it cable.
Exactly. There's a DirecTV dish in my yard, and I'm so tempted. I'm so tempted.
Tap into it.
If it wasn't for every time it rains, the wind blows, or the sun is behind a cloud that you don't lose service, I'm so tempted to go back to it.
Yeah,
just because of the sheer volume of money we're spending for everything else.
Yeah.
Now,
sure
Netflix,
like DirecTV is
I couldn't get rid of
expensive,
Netflix.
though, too. No.
Because there's good movies that pop on there. We have Apple Plus because we have Apple already, and that's not a promo for Apple. It's just what it is.
Hey, go watch that Monarch series on Apple. Bam, 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 Godzilla.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, hey, my prediction is this, though. Jim Harbaugh, mark my words right here on the Brennan Shank podcast. Jim Harbaugh is coming to Washington to coach the Commanders.
You've been talking a lot about this.
He is coming. And I'll tell you why.
That'd be cool.
One, they're going to listen to this podcast, and they're going to be like, yeah, he's right.
Brilliant.
Two, Jim Harbaugh will come to Washington where we have over $70 million in cap space. We have 5 of the first 102 picks of the draft. We have the second pick of the draft. He can pick his quarterback of the future. He has money to bring in the team that he wants. He's got owners that we believe are going to be great with Magic Johnson and Josh Harris. And Jim Harbaugh will be in a new stadium in the next 5 to 6 years around Washington. In my opinion, Washington Commanders are an ideal spot for a head coach that wants to build his own team right now. Period.
Yeah.
And Jim Harbaugh will only be 45 minutes from his brother John up the street.
How cool
up
is that?
495 at Baltimore, where they can grow old together and coach championship winning teams and win Super Bowls. Jim, come to Washington. That's all I'm saying.
I love it. I agree.
That's a wrap. Thank you for listening today
110%
to the
agree.
Brandon Shank podcast. So you asked for it.
Oh,
got him.
Oh, you got me today.
Got him. I wasn't even trying.
I'm not even close.
I wasn't even trying.
I'm here. I know you weren't. All right.
Don't blame me. You asked for it.
So I had a period in my life where I didn't eat French fries for 2 years.
Why?
I was stupid. I'm not really sure why. So when I played football in college, you weren't allowed to drink sodas during 2 days or sugary drinks. They monitored you. Yeah. So I just got out of drinking sodas. So I probably drink now more than I should, but I probably drink less than 20 sodas a year.
Wow.
Probably less than 20 a year. Cumulative. Yeah. And that's probably generous. Maybe full sodas, like there's these little ginger beers, they're like this big. They're actually mixers, but it's just ginger ale, but it's really potent. So I don't obviously I don't drink alcohol.
Yeah.
But they're mixers. They're only a bottle this big. It's 80 calories and it's called ginger beer. I don't even know who makes it, but it's basically a mixer, but it's like a extremely strong like ginger ale. It's just ginger, but it's really potent and it's really spicy and I love it.
Interesting.
It's delicious. And they're like 80 calories. And I drink those probably once a week maybe. Not even that. So those count. 2 of those may count as one soda, if that. But I drink less than 15, 20 sodas. But I went on this hiatus where I didn't eat French fries for 2 years. Now, I don't eat them a lot. I did eat them for dinner last night, so that's the lie. I don't eat them a lot, but I don't eat them like fast food a lot. And so this is weird, but they had this, recently a survey came out with the best French fries of fast food.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, they had the top 10, but they actually gave us 12 because they all were so delicious.
We're going there, huh?
So we're going there. So I'd like to know, if you're listening, what is your favorite? I don't need to know your top 3. I just need to know, number 1, best French fry you've ever eaten at any fast food joint or regular food joint. But I'll give you the list. Do you want me to start and just go down the list, or do you want to give me your number 1 first?
Oh,
because I know my number 1. It's not even a question. It's a hands down number 1.
What's your number
McDonald's.
1? I mean, it's classic.
And their ketchup's different.
Always,
It's just different. I mean, you grew up on it.
Yeah.
They changed their oil years ago, and it kind of tweaked it a little bit.
Nostalgic.
But McDonald's French fries, the cut, the way they are, the salt, they're just the best French fries to me anywhere.
Yeah. You're not, I mean, they're up there for me, for sure.
That's my number 1. Man, and Arby's is probably my number 2. The curly fry.
Curly fries are good.
I get down with that. And after that, it's just kind of a wash. I'm sure they're good. Crinkle cuts are my least favorite.
Yeah, I'm not a big crinkle cut guy.
Too much potato, not enough crisp. for me.
See, this is
I don't like
where,
shoestring guys. I don't like shoestring fries that much. I like, a little bit more than that. But
yeah,
McDonald's are perfect.
this is where I'm a big boardwalk kind of fry guy, and so this is where Five Guys
Boardwalk's
comes in.
delicious.
I don't really eat at Five Guys a lot.
Five Guys is a great
But their
choice.
French fries they're boardwalk fries.
They
you
are
got
delicious.
the malt vinegar.
Oh yeah, and they're little like
Yeah.
they a little heavy.
Yeah.
They kind of hang down a little bit.
I
Like
also
the
like the
fries.
waffle fries from Chick-fil-A. I'm not
Great
gonna lie.
choice. They make my tongue itch.
Okay.
I'm not allergic to peanuts, but they use peanut oil, and sometimes it
okay.
makes my mouth itch.
Yeah.
Not bad, just
Okay.
enough where I'm like, this is weird.
Okay.
And I eat nuts all the time.
So
I don't
those
know.
might be my top two right there.
So number one is your what?
Probably Five Guys
And
because
number
it's boardwalk.
And that's those are great
Would be
choices.
Chick-fil-A. Yeah.
They're great choices.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me tell you. Number 12, In-N-Out. Number
Okay.
11, Shake Shack. I've never had
I've
In-N-Out.
not had Shake Shack.
Yeah.
We have one.
We have In-N-Out.
No, Shake
Shake
Shack.
Shack.
Right
I have
here.
had Shake Shack. I just don't remember.
I've never been.
Hardee's, number 9. Or no, 10.
10.
Number 9, Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
Yeah, which shouldn't even be on the list.
The fry. No, listen. The fry. Have you had the fries with the cheese dip?
They're pretty good.
They're pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Number 8, Arby's,
Okay.
which I was surprised at that.
You know, Arby's like owns everything. You seen that? You should look it up.
7, Burger King.
Yeah, I'm not big on their fries.
6, Wendy's.
Okay.
5, Five Guys.
Hey,
There you go.
top 5. Good job, Five Guys.
4, Chick-fil-A.
Hey, I'm in the top 5.
3, Cane's. Raising Cane's.
Oh,
Never
we're
had
getting
them.
one.
We are?
Yeah, I can't remember where, but we're getting one.
I've never had them.
Yeah, I have to figure it out.
Number 2, McDonald's.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
for sure they would be one.
Yeah, number
Man,
1.
Now I'm shocked at.
Checkers, Rallies.
I have not.
It's like a
What is their fries
It's like
like?
a seasoned fry.
I gotta look it up now. Checkers fries. That is shocking to me.
Yeah, Checkers number 1. It is a little shocking.
So they're like seasoned. Okay,
So
I might have to go try them out.
there's something happening on the internet that I want to ask all of humanity why we're doing it.
I love. We have no segues. I love it.
We go from hot topic
Hey,
to hot topic here.
So there's your number 1 fry. You know what? I'm really bothered by something.
How would you like me to segue this?
I don't know.
What could I have said to soften the blow here? Because I feel like
Here's the thing.
I'm giving the people what they
Again.
want. The people want the information. They want
Listen,
the juice. They want the good stuff, and they want to know what Jesus is
I'm
trying
not
to say here.
disagreeing with
And
you.
I don't know what Jesus is trying to say, but I know what I want to say.
Just saying, viewers. Again, I'd never know what we're going to talk about every week.
I don't
So
know what we're talking about every week.
I would like to help your segues, but I don't know
The
where
Lord
we're going.
speaks to me. No, just kidding. All right, I'll say this. I want to know what people's problem is with this. It's a horrible thing. But have you seen those videos where people tell their entire family at Thanksgiving or Christmas that somebody died to see their reactions?
No, I haven't.
It's morbid.
It's
Like a lady.
a prank thing going around.
Yeah, it's a prank. So she's sitting
Holy
there,
cow.
and her whole family's watching TV, hanging out, like all the extended family. The room's packed, the kitchen's full, and she's looking at her phone, and she does one of these.
That's brutal.
Oh my gosh, Dolly Parton dead at 78.
Oh, a celebrity. Yes, I have. I thought you meant like someone.
Grandma died.
I thought you meant
Oh my gosh,
someone in their
Grandma died. Oh my gosh, Aunt Millie passed.
I was like, how? This is brutal. Okay. Yeah. Like a celebrity.
Oh my gosh,
guy.
my mom just passed away. No,
Yeah,
no, that'd be awful.
That would be.
But it's
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, but why is it any different? It's a human.
Well,
but they were
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, Dolly Parton dead at 78, and people are like, what?
Losing
What?
their
No way.
minds. Yeah,
No
yeah.
way. You're lying. No way. And I'm like, dude, chill. First of all, chill out. Like, how involved are y'all in these people's lives? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah.
Second, you should be ashamed of yourself. Why are you people doing this? What is it with people's infatuation with death and reaction of people that are going through trauma that we elicit it in a post? We're sick. We are sick. Society, you are sick. You should be ashamed of yourself. That's what I'm saying. You're sick. The things we do to get a rise in a video count is unbelievably unfathomable to me.
Look. My brain is still shifting gears. Hey, so speaking of French fries,
Checkers
prank
fries
deaths.
are number one,
Prank
and Dolly
deaths.
Parton is not dead.
Oh man.
But is this twisted or is it just
no?
me?
Yeah. I mean,
What is it with people trying to get a rise? You want to get the
I
count.
think-
The video counts and the numbers, they're so overrated.
I think this is what it is, though. I think you have people like that person is Dolly Parton or whatever. They are like the biggest Dolly Parton fan. It's almost like you're picking on that person because of how big of a fan they are of that person. Yeah,
I get it. I really.
So that's what makes it a little funny. But you're right. It is kind of twisted.
Every time I see them, my stomach drops before they say who died because I'm like, oh no, these people are experiencing like a traumatic moment, and we're watching it.
Yeah,
that's what I hate.
Yeah, there's some that are like, no,
but why? Why
like
do we do
hyperventilating?
Yeah, why do we do that to people?
Because we're mean and sadistic and
narcissistic.
Yeah, we like good pranks.
We like. I mean, it's just it's unbelievable to me. I mean, I'm not mad about it. I just don't understand. I don't understand why.
Yeah, don't lie. You enjoy watching those videos.
No, I feel sorry for the people. So I'm like, there is a moment in their life right now. They have no idea they're being filmed and that this is a prank.
I like them.
I hate watching people go through stuff like that. It like makes my stomach cringe. Just like I think part of it, and I'm not going to get too deep and ugly here. But in what I do and what you do, we're pastors.
Yeah.
I have been a part of way too many of those moments that weren't fake.
They're real.
That I'm like, come on, bro. I ain't trying to see that crap. That's my exact thought. Yeah. Is like and I know you're like, man, you're taking this way too deep.
Here we go.
A lot of y'all don't have to walk through it. So let's be honest. You're not there when families are going through the darkest days of their life when they've lost. So for me, it might be, and this, I'm not trying to be emotional about it. It just might be a trigger in more ways than I know. Yeah. Of like when I hear somebody died. Like when you've really walked people and people who have young kids that their parent is gone, or you walk people through a loss of a child or a newborn. Like I've been in all those rooms, and you're like, well, that's not what they're joking about. They're joking about Dolly Parton. You're right. She's not a human. Why would I care? Dolly Parton has family. Like my point is, when people do that crap, I'm just like, it just seems so insensitive to me. And I know people are like, oh, it's just funny. I'm not against laughing, but I just wonder, society is just so far removed from reality sometimes that I'm like, why would you invite a moment like that to laugh about it whenever those moments are moments nobody wants to experience?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well,
I'm not trying to be self-righteous about it. I'm not trying to be judgmental. Yeah. I'm just saying, for me, I'm like, why are people doing this?
I think a good indicator of like, what if you made that joke and then the next day that person really did die? And then you're like, oh, that joke wasn't that funny yesterday anymore. Like that is a real possibility. That is like,
it got dark here on the podcast for a second. That's real dark.
Let's talk about French fries again.
Yeah. I'm not mad at y'all for doing crazy videos. I just don't understand you. That's all I'm saying. I just don't understand you. And you know what? I don't have to.
Hey.
I'm one small, tiny speck in mankind right now.
Yeah.
And your beauty and all that you all are make this a great place to live.
I will say this. Hey, see, here's a great segue. Talking about funny videos, your son made a hilarious video that you showed to me.
You want me to show it to the...
I think, you could. I mean, we'll have to get really close to the camera, maybe.
Well, and people aren't going to be able to see this because there's a lot of them.
You know what? I
can is Caden.
I can put it in a clip.
Okay,
I'll put it in a clip.
Let's give Caden a shout out on
but
the
we're
podcast.
shouting him out.
All right.
Yeah.
Caden,
is it on
son,
Dem Shank Boys? Was it on that channel, or does he have his own channel now?
Channel now.
Oh, he's got his own.
It's a different channel.
Nice.
It's under Kane's Kid.
Kane's Kid. All right, listen. I'm telling you, it's original and it's funny. It's really
does this stuff all the time. So let's do this. We're gonna put a clip on the podcast. This is Caden's newest short that he put on YouTube. It is really funny. When he showed me, I was laughing out loud, and you laughed out loud when I showed you.
It's clever. It's very clever.
Yeah. Well, apple don't fall far. Hey, so there was this article I read before I got the cough that doesn't end. All right. So I got a cold over Christmas. Me and Caden both got the flu. We don't ever get sick. And I'm finding that there's this virus that people are getting that generally are people who don't get sick. Well, I'm one of them. I don't ever get sick. I haven't been to the doctors for a sickness in a long time.
Yeah.
Mental illness, maybe, but not physical. But the cough that doesn't end, they say there's a mystery cough that people have. They don't know how to identify it, but it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm that guy.
Oh, I can hear it. Yeah.
You can hear the cough?
Everywhere. I hear it everywhere. Yeah, I don't have it, thank God. But
like
I hear
sitting down
it
to a good dinner and hearing people go off.
Yeah. And it's like gargly.
You know what? I'll have mine to go. Yeah, I'll have mine to go.
My son has one right now. I listened to him like all last night.
Alfredo?
No, my youngest Aiden. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
Well, listen.
Alfredo.
It's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know Maddox, Corey's oldest, is a football ball hawker. He pulls balls out of the air and scores touchdowns in playoff games. That's all you need to know. And
he's a champion, baby.
Yeah, he came to practice one time years ago, and he was feeling like he was going to throw up. And I said, "What's wrong with you, man?" He said, "I can't run, coach." I said, "Why?" He said, "I had a Alfredo." So his nickname for the rest of the year is Alfredo.
Yeah.
When he scored touchdown in the championship game, Alfredo. When he scored touchdown in the playoff game, Alfredo.
Alfredo.
He had 2 catches all year for 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's true.
In 2 games.
Big center. Yeah.
I tell you, he don't show up until he has to. And when he's ready, he's like, all right, I'll score right here.
He had a lot of fun that year.
Well, he should have. He's a champion.
Oh,
Undefeated, undisputed champion. So I love coaching.
Yeah.
I love kids. I love young men, raising them into men.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because like there was coaches in my life who played such a big role.
Yep.
You know, I played football through college. And even now, like I was talking to my college coach last week on the phone, like these people poured into me regardless of the proximity of relationship. Like there was a level of inspiration that they gave me.
Yeah.
Everybody has coaches that you may not remember as well, but all of us have coaches that really made an impact. And some of you might not even remember their name. They were a coach for one season, but they believed in you. And I was reading something that was talking about young men, and there's boys right now, especially post-COVID, that are really struggling and they need coaches and tutors. And some parents are paying thousands a month to fix them. And they're saying that there's such for boys specifically, there is a struggle right now to focus, and particularly 13-year-old boys. They've seen declines in reading and math test scores since the pandemic. They said girls are completing high school at higher rates than boys, and that 14% of all kids in the United States between ages 12 and 17 have been diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And it says with Chromebooks in tow now, boys are accessing YouTube and games during class. And the smallest things can trip them up. They get super involved in a video game and forget to work it out, and it could snowball.
Yeah.
And I asked Caden this morning, I said, hey, man, you get on YouTube during school on your Chromebook? And he's like, sometimes. I said, what do you do? Like, watch shorts or show dudes my videos. Like, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I think it just shows the value in all of you. Like, listen, man, invest in kids. Those of you listening, invest in kids, coach something, tutor something. If you have little kids, it's great because you can coach your kids and you're coaching other kids. That's the only reason I got into coaching. Like sometimes I'm like, how in the world did I get in the place that I'm at with coaching? Well, because my kids played and I wanted to be with them. And so it just opened doors. It just so happened I was a better coach than they were a player. And you know how that goes. Just kidding. But sometimes I'm like, how did I get here? But honestly, it's like my kids just played sports and I just followed them around. And I started coaching them because I wanted to spend time with them. And so it opened doors for me to continue to coach, which I love. But the thing I love most about coaching is the impact you're making now, that regardless of how good they are as an athlete, if they go to D1 and play baseball and then they go to the majors, there's going to be a time where they're not anymore. And they're going to remember the impact you had and how much you cared for them and loved them and believed in them. And hopefully it's a correlation for me, for them one day, whenever they, whether or not now or later, when they're like, man, I can understand a father's love like God loves because I had a coach that loved me like that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people, when it comes to serving Jesus, their disconnect isn't the tough times. It's accepting the love that God actually has for them. And if there's one person in your life that has shown you unconditional love, it is 10 times easier for you to accept Jesus than for other people because his love you can't fathom. It's a supernatural love. But if you have somebody on this side of heaven that's even shown you a little bit of unconditional love, it's a bridge to God in ways that people don't really understand.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I believe as a coach, I can be that for a lot of people. Like I want them to see, like, man, you don't have to perform for me to believe in you.
Yeah.
You know, and these young men, like I want them to know, like I've got your back, dog. Like I'm here. Like whatever you need, I got you.
Yeah.
And I believe in you. You know what I mean? It's bigger than baseball. I always tell my guys that this is bigger than baseball, guys. And I'm not even referencing for me, it's ultimately, I want them to know Jesus. But it's bigger than baseball, meaning like you're more than a baseball player.
Yeah.
That's what I tell my kids all the time. You're more than this. And when you find out who you are, apart from this game, you enjoy it more.
Yeah, and I think that is that's that when you tap into that as a coach, because I'm now like starting to coach my oldest. I now coach baseball and basketball. And so, I don't have quite the years and years of experience, but being a recipient of good coaching as well too, starting to tap into what that coaching means to that child outside of just that 2 hours that you have a week or just that, whatever it is like that. I agree with that. That is like, as a coach, when it hits you of like, man, this is so much more important than just a basketball game or just a baseball game. And so that's cool. When you start to see the return on that as well too, as a coach, that's when you realize like, man, this is way more fulfilling than I ever thought it would be.
Well, and I do want to say this. If my kid was playing basketball and we went to the first practice and you walked in and you were going to be his coach, I would be so pumped. Like, man, we got a dude who is 6'7" as a basketball coach. We are in good hands. Because that's the first thing every parent does when you go to that first practice. Like, okay, what kind of coach we got?
Yeah.
Be like, we hit the jackpot, baby.
Yeah.
We got one. We got a good one.
Monday night, all practice long. They're like, Coach Corey, dunk it. Coach Corey, dunk it. And I was like, nah, guys, we're practicing. And then
Did you dunk it?
I dunked it at the end of practice.
That's awesome, man. I wish I could just touch the net.
It's a lot of fun, though.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'd be like, Coach Brandon, just make a layup. You got it, guys. Layup it is.
Make a layup.
You want to see my 3-point shot? I'm a great 3-point shotter.
Oh, man.
I'm just saying, man. You know what I mean?
That's good.
So, if I was to take all of you listening right now, millions of listeners all over the world, and I was to say, what is your goal in life? I would venture to say you're going to give me one of two answers.
Okay.
To be happy,
Yeah.
or to be at peace.
Those are
Would
good.
you say those are fair?
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying you might say, I want to be rich, or I want to be famous, or those I'm talking about real things that are going to bring something significant. Because rich and famous people die of overdoses, like people who don't. And I don't mean that in a very staunch way. I mean it as in they struggle. I think sometimes we don't give the rich and famous the credit that they're humans that have real struggles like us.
Yeah.
And so when they have the same struggles we have, we judge them in ways that are unfair because, well, why would you struggle with that? You're rich and you're famous. You could go anywhere you want on your private jet. Well, they are humans like us, and they deserve the same amount of respect for their struggles. We assume they shouldn't have struggles because they have everything. Yeah. But what I'm trying to tell you is they obviously don't. Mm-hmm. It's not the way it works. Yeah. So all you rich and famous out there, I love you. And you can have this. I have empathy for your struggle because I know that stuff is just all that stuff is a smokescreen. It doesn't cover up your soul, right? Oh, yeah. So with that being said, I think that the question I would have is, can inner peace, and there's an article that I read that was so informative to this. We are always searching for peace as Christians. Yeah. I just want to be at peace. I want to find God. I want to be at peace. God says that he will give you peace that passes understanding. I mean, I've had traumatic moments in my life. I've had difficult times, and that is absolutely the case. Yeah. I've also been led in ways where I know it's God because I'm at peace, although I don't physically feel at peace. My spirit feels at peace. Yeah. But the question it was asking is, can inner peace be misleading? That we're always searching for peace, is that really God?
That's good. Yeah.
And one of the excerpts I took from this article that I want to propose to you and to everybody listening is it says, it's not wrong to long for peace, but it is theologically incorrect to use it as a compass to discover God's will.
That's really good.
And it says, we cannot follow Christ faithfully unless we are following him into the world's pain, tension, and aching complexity. We must remember we follow a king who enters a broken world and then willingly chooses the cross. And for us, this means tension is normal and comfort may be concerning. Living in the hard places of life exposes one's faith and character and can allow it to deepen or cause it to die away. Sometimes waiting for peace can keep us from where God is asking us to be.
Yeah. Chew on that.
That was my exact thought was chew on that.
Yeah, because immediately you think about all the times as a Christian that maybe you're searching for peace. It's like, are you really searching for peace or are you searching for comfort? Are you searching for peace or are you searching for just the easy route? Because that's not peace. Peace is not, well, I'm just comfortable. Everything's good. Like the times in my life where I've needed peace the most has been the most chaotic times of my life. And that's where God offers peace. But it's not a lack of work or effort or discomfort or man.
Well, something my wife told me a couple months ago, actually this summer we were having a conversation. And as she was finishing up her master's, she was in a class that was really talking about the suffrage. Like her master's is in evangelism and leadership. And so they dealt with a lot of questions that really would be coming from people that aren't inside the church, which is really what the questions we need to answer. Yeah, yeah. And something she said has hit a chord with me, and it changed my perspective, and it changed our life. And she said people aren't looking for Christians that are successful. People are looking for Christians that endure suffering. That know how to get through the pain and they come out on top because
Yeah.
people aren't looking for the success. They don't want to know how did you get there. They want to know how did you get through the suffering. That's really the question. Everybody, if you're being honest with yourself, and as you're listening to me say this, if you really want to know an answer to something, you don't really want to know how I became successful or about how Corey became successful or about how you don't want to know those answers. You want to know, how did you get through your suffering?
Yeah.
How do you get through the times that are unpredictable? How do you get through the pain that is insurmountable? How do you get through the trauma that seems overwhelmingly dark? That is the key to Christianity.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. The peace that I have in those times is the peace of God. But those times are anything but peaceful. And I think that's the interesting part, is that the peace of God is usually at the quietest place when things are the most unpeaceful, if that's a word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Suffering is at its best when we're at our most humble position.
Yeah.
Meaning you get to a place where the suffering is secondary to God. You just want to draw close to him. And when I find that this article, it's so true though, because we've created Christianity that serves us and it doesn't serve God.
Mm-hmm.
It's about us being in a good position, about us being at peace, about us have financial prosperity. It's about us. It's not about God. It's not about suffering. It's not saying, well, and there's an old school mentality. Well, the more I suffer, the closer I am to Jesus. That's not true.
Yeah.
The more obedient you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But just like we alluded to earlier when I was jonesing a little bit about the people that are filming their family thinking somebody died, I have been with people in their darkest moment of pain on this side of heaven. And I have watched them endure suffering for years after a loss.
Mm-hmm.
Years. And you can see the peace of God with them. But the people who have suffered and walked through and have a story to tell and are encouraged, their impact is immeasurable.
Yeah.
For others.
Yeah.
Immeasurable.
Yeah.
I mean, you walked through tremendous loss with your father. I mean, for those who don't know, Corey's dad was on a mission trip in India years ago and was tragically killed. Fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
Great shape.
Yeah.
Very active.
Yeah.
Nothing in his life would point to death. There was no sign that Corey's dad wouldn't be living today. Was a prophetic voice, was a builder, was a pusher, was a mover, was a shaker. And then tragically, he's just gone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember walking, like you were going through, before that, you were walking through some tough times in your own life. And then on top of that, your father passed away tragically.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that those years of suffering galvanize things in you.
Yeah.
That now you can understand peace in a different way. But it's not peace because there's no storm. It's being able to have peace in a storm.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, because I think,
not to steal your story, but just to share it with everybody.
I mean, it's a great setup. Because the storm. Sure, I'll probably get emotional talking about this, but the storm is always there. That's the side of it that, I know a lot of people know, but maybe we don't talk about a lot, is that something like that, you don't really get through it. I've actually heard Jesus say this recently in a conversation, is it's not about getting through it. It's honestly just about learning who God is in the midst of this world, and what you experience in this world. And that is peace. My life isn't put to, like, there's times where my life doesn't feel put together. Everything's chaos. There's moments where, the pain of losing an earthly father is just a new normal that you learn to live with, but it's pain. Especially when I think about that pain when it comes to my own children, feeling what they were robbed of, because I feel like I was robbed of time, but they were robbed of, like, my youngest was robbed of his existence. And even my oldest, like, barely, I mean, he was so young. So clearly the pain is always there. It's just in the midst of that pain, God has become that replacement. So I am physically missing an earthly father. And sure, we can all say that God is supposed to be that person in our life. He's supposed, but we have earthly relationships. And I think God loves that. God wants that. But God, in his beauty and in his greatness, also can become anything that you need him to be. And so, although I have other people in my life like you and other people that I can call that give me fatherly wisdom, God has become, in a lot of ways, my earthly father. He's my heavenly father, but he has become if that makes sense, because I've had to learn in those moments where I just wish I could call my dad, that you turn to God in those moments and he becomes that wisdom. He becomes that peace. He becomes that voice that says, it's going to be okay. We're going to figure it out. And so, yeah, that is peace.
What do you say so there's people, obviously they're resonating with your story because they've lost a parent or somebody in their life that was the voice to them, that was their anchor.
Yeah.
And you know, you've said something to me that somebody said to you that you're like, man, it's been the best advice, that you don't learn how to live. You don't ever stop missing them. You just learn how to live without them. Yeah. You learn. So what would you say to people that they're like, hey man, your story obviously resonates. Like they've experienced that same loss. They just haven't they haven't worked through it like you have. You know, they haven't been there. And I think you said that in a couple of parts of, you know, talking about how God is that. But what would you say to encourage them of, like, you know, there's probably a ton of people right now listening to this that they've experienced a loss in their life this year, even, that's been insurmountable to them. And they hear you, but yet maybe that God piece isn't real to them yet. It's like, well, he just isn't that powerful to me yet. What would you say to encourage them in that? Because, I mean, you get it. I mean, I've watched you walk through this grief over the last, has it been 10 years since your father passed?
Not yet. No, it's been, is it 8 or 9?
It'll be 10 years this summer, right?
Yeah, it's coming up, I believe.
'Cause it was right before we planted, right before we launched the church. Because we lived down here. I remember we went back. That was 2014.
Yeah.
So it'll be 10 years this summer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it probably in some ways seems like it's been forever. Other ways it feels like it's been yesterday.
Yes.
So what would you say to people who are like, they're right here with you in this, about that piece where you're like, yeah, the advice isn't what they need, but they need that connection to God. Like, what was it that made you trust it? Because there was probably a season of your life where you went through where you questioned the same things they question.
Yeah.
You know, and faith and everything else.
Yeah. So I have such a dichotomy in me right now, because there's a part of me that feels like, to all those that are experiencing this, there's a part of me that feels like, having experienced that, there's really nothing I can say that is going to bring you, honestly, any level of comfort, because it's miserable. You know, when I think back to that point in my life, walking through it, there was literally nothing anyone could say. And that's right. Like, there isn't anything that I could say that maybe you've experienced. I mean, I know of people that I've talked to recently that you have recently lost your father. There's nothing that can be said. There's nothing, you can't bring them back. You can't, there are times where you just feel like you are sitting in pain. And so if I had to encourage, it is simply that. Mourn. You learn that there is a beauty in mourning. And this is coming from a person that ran away from that process my entire life. Like emotions to me were just like, I can't be emotional. I can't show emotion. And my father dying was probably the first one that started to chip away at that gigantic wall in my life. And over the course of multiple depressions, God has kind of fully enlightened me to the fact that was this huge emotional stuffer. But feel, mourn, dig. God is big enough for all of your questions. I was so angry at God. And I just went about my life trying to stuff that anger. Almost like my relationship with God became very complacent, if that makes sense. Like it went to a place of like, I still believe in you. I still love you. But like, yeah, it was a disbelief. There's no way that you could ever fix this because why? Like, why would you do this? Or why would you allow this? All those questions that I think people that don't understand even Christianity have, like about the world, of like, well, if there's such a loving God, why is there misery and pain and heartache and loss and disease and famine? And that's where I was. And I think I lived in that place longer than I should have, where I was just very complacent with God. And it wasn't till I started digging up all of these emotions and this anger and started processing those points of my life that all of a sudden I didn't have a wall in front of me anymore. And I was still angry at God. When I started doing counseling about this, you realize that all that anger is still there and it comes out. And God's big enough for your anger. He's big enough for your frustration. He's big enough for you to aim that all at him and let him have it. That would probably be one of my biggest encouragements. It's just let God have it. And in his beauty, he just holds you. And that is where the transfer began to happen. I'm not saying this happened overnight, but it was a process of like, I literally hate you sometimes. And giving it and giving it and giving it and mourning and mourning and mourning and mourning and being angry and then mourning again and being angry again and mourning again and talking about it. Find someone to talk to somebody about it. And slowly over time, it did come to this mountaintop moment where God just held me and it felt like a transfer. Like the pain is still there, but God became the father I needed. And now our relationship operates that way. So when I'm in mourning again, because that won't go away. Like it just won't. Any big moment in my life, any moment where I wish I could call him, any moment where like with my boys in sports, it just doesn't go away. But I have, I have a relationship with God now where it's okay. That voice of like, I understand. I get it. You're going to be all right. Because that was my dad. My earthly father was someone, anytime I had a frustration, it's like the voice of kind of reason to be like, we'll figure it out. I'll help you figure it out. And that's what God has become to me. So we've heard it said probably all the time that there's pain in the process, but it's true. And it's through, you mend through pain. And so don't be afraid of the pain. Don't run from the pain. You do have to get to a place where you just accept it. And that's the new normal piece. And that is probably the greatest fight. My brother-in-law gave me that advice because he lost his father at a young age. And he's like, it's just a new normal. And so, yeah, you begin to mend as you experience that pain. And so people tell you like, well, like over time it'll get better. No, over time you just get stronger. It's not that it gets better. Yeah. You as a person get stronger. And if you press into God, your relationship with God gets closer and he becomes the things that you're now missing. But I'll be honest, on this side of heaven, it's not I'll be honest, it's not fully mended, and I don't think it ever will be. But that's the beauty of my weakness. He's my strength. And so I don't think I'll ever have it fully together because I lost my dad.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, when you think about, we weren't made for death. We were made for life.
Yeah.
And we chose sin. And so walking through death is something we struggle to understand. It's something we struggle to adapt to because we weren't made to have to endure this. We were made to live and to be walking in the garden with God.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people forget that we weren't actually created to die. We were created to live.
Mm.
But death was a byproduct of what we chose as sin. And God's not a manipulator. He's not a puppet master. And so we have to endure this. And it's funny because the Bible says he's a giver. He's a life giver, but we blame him for death because, well, he can do everything. Well, you obviously understand as humans, we understand, you, me, everybody, we understand, well, yeah, he's all powerful, but God doesn't kill things.
Yeah.
He doesn't bring death.
Yeah.
It's a byproduct of the weight of things. And it's hard for us to separate those, you know, to know that he never takes, he gives.
Yeah.
The Bible says, yeah, he gives and takes away, but those are different terms for different things. God's not the one who took a kid. He's not the one who created a murderer to murder. These aren't the things God did.
Yeah.
When I was going through a lot of my pain, I was so mad at God for sexual abuse that I had when I was a kid, you know, and although it wasn't a loss of a loved one, it was a loss of an innocence for me. And God so clearly one day just said, I'm sick and tired of taking credit for things I had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so mad at him, and it just kind of stopped me in my tracks. And he said, you had no idea what I've saved you from. You only can know what you've endured.
Wow.
But you have no idea the things that you didn't have to endure.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of this thing of you see through your lens. You don't actually see the real picture, the full picture, because I'm God. And it changed my perspective because I no longer looked at him as the one who you could have stopped this from happening, of like, I don't know what he stopped. I don't know what he protected me from that could have been way worse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because sin and darkness out to destroy us. And I think when we have people die, man, that's the clearest, closest to home thing we can imagine is losing somebody. And there's loss we have in our life, such as affairs, financial, friendships. But when you lose somebody to death, it's permanent.
Yeah.
And we can't comprehend it. Like, yeah, and your brother-in-law was right. You just have to, it's a new normal. Like, you can't comprehend death because we weren't built for this. That's why God says, I'll be your strength, right? And so for today, that's my final thought. You know, that's my final thought, is just saying, hey, God is a giver. He's not the taker. And I think that you bring such a good, healthy perspective to that, saying, hey, there's never a moment, I think, in a lot of our pain where we're just over it. I think we learn how to live with it, and we can, like, it becomes a part of our testimony and story. I think a lot of people think, well, once I'm over it, then God will get the glory. It's like, well, no, that's not the way that it works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think we work so hard to get over things, and what we do is we stuff them instead.
Yep.
So we can get over them.
Yeah.
But he's a redeemer and restorer. He wants to completely renew us so that these things are not something that hold us captive.
Yeah.
You know, and I pray that whoever's listening, whatever you feel like is holding you captive, bitterness or anger or struggling with your wife or your husband, or a loss in your life, or feeling like life is mundane, that you'll know that God is a giver of all things that are good, and that those things are battling for your heart and your soul. But God is the absolute only answer. You know?
Yeah.
All of us have tried different things to find the peace,
Yeah.
to find the hope, but He's it. You know what I mean?
Amen.
He's it. And I think that's why people, I think sometimes people, whenever they find I'm a pastor, they're like, oh, it's cool, man. Never thought you'd be a pastor. Because, you know, for whatever reason, I guess because I'm drinking and smoking and stuff. No, but they say, I thought you'd never be a pastor. And I'm like, well, why is that? And maybe some of you out there are pastors, you're drinking and smoking, whatever. Do your thing. I mean, that's what you do. I'm just saying, as funny as that may sound, I think it's just because for me, it's not a job. I can't imagine doing anything else with my life than bringing people to the only thing I know that saves them. It fixes everything. It fixes the pain. It fixes the hurt. It fixes the trauma. He is the only thing that brings hope, that bridges that gap.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm going to pray for each of you today that God will do that for you, that you'll see him, that you'll understand him, that you'll let him get into your heart and help you see things in a way only he can. Lord, I just pray for each and every listener. I thank you for them. I thank you that they are here, that this is a time that you have assigned, that this is a time that you have brought them to this place, that things have taken left, and step after step to get them to this point, to see that, God, you're with them. You see their pain. You see their hurt. God, you didn't create it, but you sure will be with them as they walk through it into victory in their life. I thank you for them. God, we thank you that you are the Savior. You are absolutely the one who goes before us and creates a way when there seems to be no way. You settle things when it seems to be overwhelming, and you bring peace to things that seem like there is no way there can be peace. We thank you for that. We love you. Thank you for sending Jesus. Give you all that we are. And everybody said, amen. Hey, love you guys. See you this week, Palms Church, 9:30 online in person. See you soon. Love you guys.